August 17th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, expansion packs.
Let's do this. All right, so I got, you know what I got?
What'd you get?
I got the Adventure Burner.
You can realize I stupidly have not actually ordered it.
Well, you should order too, because this book is basically saving the world here.
It's basically, from what I can gather, just from comments people have made, the almighty Bible of role-playing.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, of Burning Wheel style role-playing.
I think it's actually what Luke said, is that it is incredibly Burning Wheel specific.
Huh?
Like, you know, the thing is like we were obviously not doing everything optimally. I don't think we ever have, you know? And it's weird because like I knew on paper like what we were doing wrong and what we were supposed to do, but I couldn't do it.
Isn't that the worst thing when you like jam a game and like you know what you did well and you know what parts of the game didn't go well?
But you still can't, it's like you know, but you still can't do it even though you know.
Because you know, like this is the part where, all right, Rim is looking at his cell phone.
And it's like, okay.
Rim's got his laptop out. Rim's pooping.
It's like if you're playing StarCraft, it's like I might know what I need to do better, but I know if I fail to do it, at least I know why I failed. I'm just not fast enough. I don't have the physical dexterity, right? I know the reason I couldn't do something that I knew to do. But with the Burning Wheel, not so much. It's
of course,
like,
some of the things are easy, like don't argue with players about the obstacle.
Yeah. I read there was a nice chapter on obstacles that's saving the world also.
My conventional wisdom was always, it's obs 3.
Yeah, that's exactly what this says also. But actually, the most helpful chapter, my favorite, is the short chapter about wises, right? But I wanna read at least part of the chapter on wises. I know Luke gets mad when people put his stuff on the internet, but I can read some bits of the chapter on wises.
I point out that fair use is quite liberal in regard to excerpts, especially for journalistic review.
I'm giving you like a couple paragraphs, otherwise we'll be here all night, right? But basically, it says here, okay, I'm gonna paraphrase some of the parts here. Okay. Long ago, a black dragon descended upon a great dwarven hall, slew the defenders, and took it as his own.
Fortress.
One of the players took the role of the last scion of that dwarven house. His long-term goal was to slay the dragon and reclaim his homeland. The rest of the players created characters that wanted to help him, right? The blah, 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 blah. And basically, someone asked the GM, do I know any stories about the origin of dragons? ? So is this a situation for wises, right? And basically... you know, it goes on and talks about, well, okay, look.
You know, I wonder if this is going where I think it should be going. In that situation, as a player, I wouldn't say, do I know any stories? I would say, I know a story. And the role would be whether or not that story is legit. Or I'd do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would never ask, do I? I would ask, I would say, I X, and then roll the dice.
Well, it says here, do I know any stories about the origin of dragons? Before answering my question, the first thing Anthony, the GM, had to think about was whether he knew the answer or not. When he was preparing the campaign, did he determine where dragons came from, or does he doesn't know? And we're going to find out where dragons came from, right? So he could say yes or force the guy to roll a DragonWise test. And it goes on to talk about when you should say yes and when you should...
I imagine this. Do I know any stories about the origins of dragons? Game Master says, yup.
Well, if he says yes, he has to give you the information.
No, he doesn't. You say yes.
No, it says...
Yes, you do.
You know, maybe you should read the Adventure Burner because clearly you're wrong. It says here he has to decide whether to simply say yes and give the information or call for a DragonWise test, right? And it says when you shouldn't, give a DragonWise test. And maybe the person will get false information. Maybe they'll get the right information. Make sure that the information doesn't contradict any previous information. Like someone might say, sure, dragons come from the Isle of Dread. Well, actually, you've already been to the Isle of Dread, and there weren't any evidence of dragons there. So we can't go with that, right? But then... later on it says, remember when you guys were searching for the lost city of Panax and you fought your way to the Chronicle of Ages and the Hall of the Allfathers to do some research? You recall there was a section dedicated to dragons that you didn't have time to investigate? I would have to wait for another opportunity to test DragonWise, and it would be a bit more time before we learn the awful truth. Dragons are born when a dwarf advances his greed to exponent 10. It is full of much awesomeness of that variety. So there you go, Adventure Burner. Even if you're not playing Burning Wheel, you'll probably get something out of it. But if you are playing Burning Wheel and you are, player or GM, it is pretty much, I don't know how you could really play properly without it, unless you, have much practice in grokking.
So Scott, how come you didn't make any shows past week?
How come you didn't make any shows? You're the shit talker.
I was on vacation, but you were here. There was nothing stopping you.
I was busy not shit talking, whereas you were laying on the beach.
I was not just laying on the beach.
Your to-do list.
I was also drinking heavily and playing games.
Yes, not doing any of the things that you should have had done years ago.
Well, except for the PAX Late Show stuff. Now that we can actually talk about that.
Yes, but you have a mighty list of shit talking, whereas where is my shit talking list? Can you name a single thing I am shit talking?
You never made that e-commerce site.
That was you.
Was it?
Yes. In fact, I did more than I should have on the e-commerce site.
Doesn't matter. I'm working on that, but
no, you're not.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on a solution to that does not involve me making an e-commerce site.
Great. Good job. You're not doing shit.
But no, 90% of what I was working on for this whole period where we were saying, yeah, we can't talk about it, was the PAX Late Show.
We should say that for the meta moment.
Yeah, but it's in the schedule now, so I can at least mention it. But no, over the whole week, it's funny. Every year at the shore, Scott will be like, hey, let's play a game. And everyone's like, and then we go to the beach, or we lay there, watch like some terrible old anime. We still did that. This year we watched Babylon 5. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, no.
I'm actually really enjoying it. I want to know what happens to the Minbari.
I've actually watched some episodes back in the day.
What episodes? Because two things. One, Babylon 5 not only has bad CGI compared to shows of today, it has bad CGI compared to shows of back then.
Well, I don't know which episodes. They were random episodes that were airing at like the middle of the day on Sunday when I was in high school. Bored, just home doing nothing. And it was terrible.
I don't know. It was a good show. What episodes? Do you remember?
How am I supposed to remember in high school?
Really? You don't remember anything from high school?
I don't remember what TV show I watched on a random Sunday.
I wish I had watched more of it when I was in high school. But no, I'd stay up late and watch TNG. And then Deep Space Nine would come on and be like, kind of fall asleep during it. Babylon 5 was way later on a different channel, so.
Yeah, all those shows suck.
No, those shows are all awesome.
They're all terrible.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. It has nothing to do with Tuesday.
Regardless, all that aside, at the shore, for some reason, now that Scott wasn't around, it was like the gaming time. We played like every board game we had multiple times. We even whipped out a weird indie RPG that Scott's never even heard of.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, aha, Scott's not here. Let's play some games.
The whole time we're like,
jerks.
Man, if only Scott were here, he'd love this.
You jerks.
You could have just come.
Yeah, all right. You want to pay me?
Just take vacation time.
Give me some vacation time.
You spend it all on what?
I'm going to spend. Don't worry.
What are you spending it on?
I'm spending on good stuff. Plus, I don't have that much to spend.
But regardless, what I do want to talk about, we played a bunch of games. The Battlestar Galactica game, which is basically Shadows over Camelot plus Mafia and set in the Battlestar universe. It's okay. The real trouble with it is that
it's Shadows over Camelot.
No, the fun part of the game is figuring out who the Cylon is. Mm-hmm. But smart players can make that decision completely pointless.
Really?
Yeah. Smart players just play randomly, and it doesn't matter. If you're the Cylon, just dick everyone all the time. They cannot figure it out. The game is set up to where they cannot actually figure it out without using their powers. And
really? Because like in Shadows over Camelot, right, you can help with the quests or you can sort of not help with the quests. So you're saying that in Battlestar Galactica game, it's like people will be forced to not help even when they want to?
No, it's more like you can dick secretly, so people don't know you dicked. And you can kind of statistically figure it out, but they introduce enough randomness into the stuff you're doing.
So you can basically dick people secretly so no one can tell who's doing good and who's doing bad.
Constantly.
And then your dicking is concealed by luck.
Basically, yes.
So there's no way to tell who's the Cylon.
The real trouble in the end is just that it suffers the same problem fundamentally that Shadows over Camelot suffers. It relies on two things. One, it relies on the fact that you have a hand of cards that are secret. So you can play cards and those affect the outcome, but at the same time, the game does not let you actually say what the numbers are on the cards in your hand.
Oh, they have stupid rules about what you can and can't say?
You can say, I can help a little. I can help a lot, but you can't say things like, I got 18, let's roll. So, I don't know,
that's a fundamental brokenness. You can have really specific rules about what can and cannot be said. For example, you can say this game must be played silently. That's okay. You can say players may only say numbers. They may not say any words. That's okay. But to have such these, flimsy kind of rules like that, it's like, sorry guys,
they were
that's not gonna
better
work.
than Shadows over Camelot. They were more precise, but there was still a fatal flaw in that it did not preclude me from making a code ahead of time and using said code like a lot means I have 5 blue.
Yeah, I will say a lot. The number of times I say the word a lot is the number that I have on my card.
Yeah.
A lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot.
So that was kind of disappointing, but we played Cosmic Encounters.
All right.
It's really fun, but it's basically a vote who wins game because you can have mutual victory. So the one game I played, I was getting the shit kicked out of me.
We play a lot of games with mutual victory, though, but they're not vote who wins. Illuminati has mutual victory, isn't vote who wins.
Yeah, well, that's because the game dicks
Diplomacy
everyone.
has it, and that's not vote who wins.
But this game, basically, you go around and you keep kind of you invite people to help you. And then the attacker invites and the defender invites. And you can invite specific people. I can be like, I invite Nuri and Pete to help me attack. And then, Wyatt, who's being attacked, can be like, well, I invite Nuri and Scott Johnson, and you know what? Everybody can help me defend. And I was getting the shit kicked out of me, but I had just enough stuff. And Bruce was pretty much winning. And then everyone else starts coming up, and anyone could have won. It was getting real close. And on my turn, I was in the right position. I go to Bruce. I'm like, mutual victory? He's like, mutual victory. We shook hands. We did it. We won.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I got 100% win rate in that game.
You played it once.
Yeah, maybe.
Any other good games?
We played some Cosmic Encounters, which is
You said
not.
that-
Yeah,
you
we
said that
played
already.
some Race for the Galaxy.
We played that at Anime Boston.
Yep, and having played it 2 more times, everyone was right. Without the expansions, the game is definitely eminently solvable.
Yeah, you need more cards in there to mix it up. Otherwise, you're just going to figure out all the cards, know exactly which ones to use when, and the whole thing is done.
Yeah, turns were pretty deterministic, and it comes down to the fiddliness, but the expansions, I don't know if they make the game great or if they just delay the figuring out further. It's no Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a far better game. However, I enjoy Race for the Galaxy. But most importantly, the game we played, I doubt many of you have heard of it, 1001 Nights, a game of enticing stories. This is one of those
How enticing is it?
indie role-playing games.
How indie could it be?
Have you ever heard of it?
Well, I haven't heard of most indie games.
It's put out by Night Sky Games,
Alright.
Meguey Baker, and the game, it's basically Inception, the role-playing game, but not in the literal sense, but in the figurative sense. It is the, yo dog, I heard you like role-playing, so put some role-playing in your role-playing so you can role-play while you role-play. The game, you play, and it sounds like it'd be really confusing. You play a bunch of courtiers in the Sultan's court, in some Saudi Arabian setting, Arabian Nights style.
All right.
And you all make your characters and name them, and it has cool mechanics for making characters. And then you role play a scene with all these courtiers hanging out and doing their thing. And at some point, someone in the group will suggest a story. Assign roles to all the other characters, and now you role play those characters role playing that story.
How many stories do you do?
You keep going around until some meta condition occurs, until someone gets beheaded. Say in the course of your story,
Wait, but their character gets beheaded, or their character's character gets beheaded?
the real character, the meta character,
How does that happen?
So I don't want to get into all the
If you're
mechanics.
just sitting, if you have these characters who are just sitting around telling stories, role playing, how does anything happen outside of that?
Easily.
Story in a story.
It's a Sultan's court.
So when do things happen in the Sultan's court?
All the time. Like I said, I don't want to get into the mechanics, but say you finish your story. Everything gets resolved, right? And
But the Sultan hates it?
No, the story gets resolved. It's all done. Then you go through all these mechanics to figure out, was the Sultan insulted by something you did in the course of the role playing? Or did you get closer to your ambition? And then you role play the aftermath of the story as the meta characters until another story happens. And you kind of take turns describing and then playing out the scenes outside of the role playing and then playing out the role playing itself.
So it's basically that Monty Python skit. Oh, that one was his.
Like a golden shower of light.
Your Majesty is like
Bat
right.
So here's the weird thing. Look, what is one of the biggest problems our group has role playing? People don't remember each other's in-character names, and very few people can maintain first-person dialogue as their character, in character.
I think the biggest problem
for more than a paragraph or so.
Well, I think the fundamental problem there is simply that people can't sit and pay attention and focus and not get up and do anything else. They are constantly getting up and doing other things. They're not sitting down and only role playing and not looking at their phones, not going to get food, not go.
Well, that's simple. Anytime they're doing that, they're bored. If they're doing that, the game's already failed.
I'm just saying.
But this game. But even that aside, part of the reason they're not engaged. Look, no one remembers each other's characters' names. Can you name any of the characters from the Oasis game other than Goma?
The Oasis game?
Yeah. What was my character's name?
I don't remember.
Really?
I got to think for a minute.
Can you name any character from that
I
game?
could if you let me think for like a little bit. It would take a while.
Can you name any characters from the Ferrith game we were playing?
The ferret, all that.
Any of them, any Ferrith game.
Any ferret game?
Can you name any character from any role-playing game that we have played as a group in the last decade?
That wasn't my character?
Yes.
Yeah, I know the characters' names in like the Dwarf Fortress games.
Really?
Yeah.
What's my character's name?
I forget, but I know that she
My point illustrated.
She's character is Kygarn, I think.
So my point illustrated.
Someone else is like Arn.
People don't know their characters' names in person, and they don't role play in person. People have a lot of difficulty kind of actually having a conversation that makes sense in the course of the game as their character without defaulting to proper noun, meta thing, that guy's name. My character tries to convince the guy to do this. Roll the dice. 1001 Nights forces the opposite.
I thought it was called something else.
It's called 1001 Nights, a game of enticing stories.
Uh-huh.
So not only did everyone remember every other character's name and speak to them continuously in character for pretty much the entirety of the game, and I have a recording of this to prove it, no one even had trouble remembering the fucking secondary characters every time around, and they kept changing.
What was it about the game that did that?
So one, the game is heavy on atmosphere. The book tells you you'd better be lounging. You'd better have like wine and grapes and things. Really get into character, change the setting, have physical tokens, put a bowl in the middle for the tokens.
Well, Dread says the same thing. If you actually follow the instructions of Dread, you're supposed to make the room all dark and spooky.
Yes, I cannot express to you how well that works. The physical space of gaming matters far more than we'd even suspected when we mandated that you must have a table.
Yeah, I know. I knew it mattered when we mandated the table.
But mandating the lounging, and we all lounged and played. And it worked beautifully because it fit the setting. Mm-hmm. Also, the way you make your character, you describe your character. You make 6 sentences describing your character. Each one must reference one of the senses, and then the last one is what they look like.
Uh-huh.
So, sight, my character, nothing escapes my character's gaze. Mm-hmm. Or my character is blind, or my character is ugly. Just anything involving sight and scent and taste and touch and hearing.
Not bad.
And then you have to go around, and after everyone knows everyone's characters, everyone has one ambition, and then everyone has one thing about every other character that they envy.
Mm-hmm.
Not
so you have
hate.
So if you have 5 players, you have 5 envies.
Yes, not hate, but envy, which means that...
Well, 4 envies.
So you'll be sniping, you'll be insulting each other. A game like that in a Sultan's Court, you think courtiers aren't going to be insulting each other? But because you can't really insult each other directly, it's a court. You can't be like, you're big and fat and stupid. But what if, in the course of telling a story, you ask the big fat stupid guy to roleplay the big fat stupid guy?
Oh, you get to ask her to do.
Yes, the person starting the story says, all right, we're going to play, this. I'm going to tell the story of, I forget the Arabic name.
You can be the poopsmith.
But it's basically.
And I will be the Sultan.
The Don Juan story about the famous lover. And let's see, and this was Pete's character, Mustafa bin Mustafa.
That's a good name.
He was the fat, powerful eunuch of the court, in charge of the harem. His envy of my character, I was the pretty boy,
you had
the
a
court
penis.
musician, was that I can lay with a woman. My envy of him is that he is physically powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to tell the Don Juan story because he's envious of me. He cast himself as Don Juan, of course. And as a slight, he cast me, my character, as the eunuch. To try to, and he's trying obviously to like make me understand what it's like. So of course, because the role playing is so important, I immediately stuff pillows under my shirt, physically. And then when I come onto the scene in the scenario, herp-de-dur, I am the eunuch, big and stupid. Look at how much I smell. Don Juan is so much smarter and cleverer than me. Of course he will get away. And that is the way the game flows. It is so awesome. Once we play it, we have to review.
You know why the game is good for us? Because it's a game where you insult the other people, and we are experts at that.
Oh my, you should hear the recording of this game.
That is our expertise, is insulting each other viciously. So any game about insulting is our game.
So any games that you played?
I went to board game night and I played some games.
Oh yeah, board games. Emily there was some manga things she wanted you to go to, but then you were like, yeah, board games.
Let's see, I played the Castlevania game on the Xbox.
I bought it. I have not even played it once.
It's all right. It's not the only problem I have with it is that like you're doing these individual levels. And I wish it was just more one gigantic cat. How come no one does it? I just make the game gigantic. They spent enough time making these, like, I guess 6 or 7, I don't know how many there are, maps, because they didn't finish the game. You could have just put them all together and made one gigantic one. Dude, come on. Just go crazy big. Make something that's like Symphony of the Night size, or maybe even twice as big as that. Go large. That's
like the example of what if Four Swords let anyone go anywhere.
I mean, if there's 6 players simultaneously, that means we can explore it. That means we can explore this shit in 1/6 the time. So you got to make it 6x size of the Symphony of the Night. That's what I'm looking for. Anyway,
we'll
else?
Play it.
I've been playing some FPSs. You know what FPS I'm playing?
NS?
Doom.
Doom 1, Doom 2.
All kinds of Doom.
Final Doom?
All Dooms.
Final Doom wasn't that fun, to be honest.
Playing all Dooms.
Want to play some Doom Deathmatch?
I got this new Doom engine, the Doomsday engine, and then I went into my Steam folder and I got the WAD files and I wrote a blog post telling you how to make it happen. Because remember when we went to that thing and there was the CEO and the other
Y
guys?
plus 30.
Yeah. The bald guy, the Kotaku guy, apparently he never played Doom.
Do you remember his name?
Totillo. He never played Doom. And he wrote a blog post about his first attempt to play Doom, like which was very recently, like after the Y plus 30
So
thing.
having not like interacted with this, I don't know where this story goes. Doom, I think, if you just sit down to play it, is eminently 100% accessible.
Well, the thing is that he had a great time playing it, actually, but he played it like the Flash version, and then he tried to play like an Xbox crappy version because he couldn't get it to work on the computer, technologically speaking, because the Steam DOSBox thing just didn't work out of the box.
The Steam DOSBox thing works barely.
So I wrote a blog post how to make the Doomsday thing work, which is far superior and far more accessible. Let's see, what else? I played Forbidden Island. I played once. It's basically, it's the same genre as Pandemic, right? It's a verse the game. I think, though, that
always a mixed bag.
I think the problem with this one is that I'm not sure, we should have made it a harder difficulty because we just won. And it was like a turn or two before we actually won, but we were guaranteed to win already. So I was like, oh, we've already won. But the guy next to me was like, I want to play it out. And I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter. You can make any move. As long as you're not stupid, there is no way we can lose. And he was like, no, we might lose. And I'm like, look, tell me what combination of cards can show up and where we would lose. There isn't. He's like, I can't tell you which specific one. And I'm like, have you not been paying attention? Even if the worst possible cards are all in a row, there's no way we can lose. We have two helicopter cards. We can't lose.
Go back to the Horatio Hornblower books, right? There's one where he's playing, and this is in the show too. You saw
playing
this
whist?
part where he's playing whist, and then the guy's like, "You're cheating," and he's like, "No, I'm just good." And then later, like he's like, "Well, this hand's over," and the other 3 guys throw their cards in, and the guy's like, "No, we should keep playing. It's not over." And then the smart people are all like, "Well, no, because you couldn't have more than blah 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 blah." I don't think a lot of people are at that level on most German board games.
This wasn't even a German game, really, but. Yeah, it's a beat the game. I wouldn't recommend it, really. It's sort of... It's not, I mean, if you're gonna play that game, just play Pandemic. It's if you want to play those games, that's the best of those.
Yeah, you know
games.
what I'm bringing to the next board game night? I got the Tigris and Euphrates expansion that none of us fucking knew about.
All right.
I can't believe it.
How good is it?
We haven't played it. I don't know, but it did what we said it should do. They have the normal board, and on the back, an alternate board with a big open area and a river kind of around the edge.
All right.
There's a spot. There are 2 spots for the Blue Monument.
Whoa.
And one of those spots is 6 squares.
Whoa.
And there's also another expansion. You kind of mix and match, I think. The Ziggurat. If you make a 3 across and 3 across to kind of like a plus.
So when you place the 9th tile, you can flip it over.
No, so a plus, so 5 tiles.
Oh, okay.
Then you turn it into the Ziggurat. It is a black-only monument, and the black leader there gets 1 cube of their choice every round. Yeah. There's also 1 building for each color.
Can the 5 tiles, does it have to be like...
One color, doesn't matter what.
Doesn't matter which one?
Nope.
Okay, but it's a black only.
There's another thing. There are 4 buildings, 1 of each color, and you place them once you make a horizontal or vertical line of tiles of that color that are at least 3 long.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose upon placing the 3rd one to place that building on the tile.
All right.
Now, any further tiles placed in that kingdom give that colored leader double points.
Wait. So, the colored leader who's in the kingdom.
So if I place the green special building in a kingdom and I have the green leader, and then later I place a green tile, 2 points.
You get 2 green.
Now,
but if someone takes that from you...
So the way you take that from someone is not normal. It's longest road.
Uh-huh.
If I build a line of 4 green somewhere else on the board, it's fucking mine now.
No, but you could just internal conflict him in the kingdom that has
Or
the
I can build a
building.
line of 4 green.
You could, but you could
and
also...
the tiles don't go away. They stay in the kingdom for strength.
Oh,
you don't flip
someone
them
external
over.
conflicts, or what if I catastrophe that shit?
You can catastrophe around it, yeah, and break it.
All right.
But someone else still has to take it.
Mm.
It's interesting.
That's interesting to see. We'll see.
Well, because the reason they added it is the other alternate board has this huge open land area. So there's much more kind of pattern recognition action going on in that area.
Mm.
That board also has kind of an inside-outside mechanic of the river in terms of which treasures to take, and more treasures.
All right, we got to hurry this up because we're burning the whole front of the show. But I played one more game called Space Alert.
Space Alert?
Space Alert was this weird, it was a real-time board game, right? And basically the way it's supposed to work is you get these audio recordings that tell you what happens, but we didn't have the audio recordings. So one guy sat there with a clock, a timer, and he read off the card at the precise times but if you have the audio recording, you don't need a person to run the game because it'll just say the things it needs to say at the right time.
That's a really interesting idea.
So, for example, you'll play a round, and the round will be X minutes, and then it'll resolve. And when the time is up, you resolve and figure out if you won or not, right? And it's a beat the game. And the way it works is you're on a spaceship, and aliens are coming, and they're going to shoot you, right? And you need to basically, you all program your character, right? And you have cards, and you put the cards down on this little thing to sort of command your guy what to do. So it'll be like, go to the left side of the board, go to the bottom half of the board. You have up, down, left, right? Push the A button, move right, push the B button, move up,
press
the
A,
right? So some of the buttons shoot lasers, and some of the buttons break open a canister with more energy, and some of the buttons transfer energy from one area of the ship to the other. Some of the buttons charge up a shield. All the buttons do different things. So you have, some number of players, and the different ships attacking you have different special abilities too. Like, we got screwed because I tried to attack this one ship, but I attacked it too early, so it was too far away, and the shot didn't reach. And so you got to basically, you have this short time limit. You're basically racing against the clock, all of you together, and you're trying to each program your own character, together, such that, and you can't program them face up either. You're programming them face down.
I just had an idea. What if you take that and combine it with the multiple transforming, combining Sentai robot kind of show? 5 pilots in the robot, you've got to coordinate to win.
That's not the same kind. Yeah, it could work.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a little bit hectic. The problem was, I think, it only really works if everyone gets it. Like, we barely won on the easiest possible scenario, and we played the second most easy scenario. And
was it obvious who didn't get it?
Yeah. I mean, I thought I got it, but because I got it, but the thing was I couldn't keep track of all the stuff. It was because there was so much going on. I didn't recognize, I couldn't keep in my head there were 3 different aliens attacking us, and each one had a different special ability, and there were, we had to get the energy and fire the guns and do enough damage, and you really need enough people to all get it simultaneously to be able to parse all the information to program all of your characters to actually win. And while you're playing, it'll be like new alien appears, or it'll be like, okay, you can trade cards with each other for the next 30 seconds. Now you can't trade cards anymore.
I never considered the idea of using an audio recording or some sort of audio like triggered mechanism to make a game that is actually like physicality and timeliness matters.
Yeah, you can go to their website and listen to some of the MP3s.
It's a brilliant idea.
Not that they're going to help you without the game, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's a brilliant idea. I think more people should try that.
Yeah, but it's a beat the game.
So I guess right on to things of the day. You got a thing of the day?
Oh, I got a great thing of the day. So, I don't know. Did I use this on the show before? We'll find out. Apparently, this is a guy named Jake Adelstein, right? I don't know if you know.
Oh, yeah. You did this last week.
Did I? Was it my thing of the day?
Did we do any shows last week?
Huh?
No, we didn't. I'm messing with you. Go on.
Oh, okay. And he's, I think I might have talked about him on the show before. He's this Jew who went to Japan and he was he was a crime reporter.
Oh, yeah, you talked about him.
And he got all in with the Yakuza.
The guy on The Daily Show, right?
Yeah.
And he did the expose on they come to America to get livers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Right? So this is this guy who's all in with the Yakuza. So he actually, what he did was he went to some of his Yakuza friends because somebody told him to, right?
Oh, I know what you're doing. This is good.
And he got the game, the PlayStation, or it's a PlayStation game, right? Yeah. Yakuza 3, the Yakuza simulator.
The one we played at PAX.
And he got some Yakuza to play Yakuza 3. This is sort of like when football players play Madden, right? So, and he wanted that, or when they get race car drivers to play like Forza or Gran Turismo and ask him how it is.
I'm glad he's not worried that they're going to kill him anymore.
No, these are these are friendly Yakuza that he was friends with, right? I'm sure there are still Yakuza who would probably want to kill him, or maybe, I don't know. But, these were Yakuza that he was on good terms with. Even though there's a funny part in this piece where it's like one of the Yakuza says Gaijin and one of the other ones is like, don't say Gaijin, Jake's a Gaijin. And he's like, you just say Gaikoku, Jake. He's like, but they talk about, some of the things in the game that they like and some of the things in the game that they don't like, and stuff, and how they like how, sake powers you up. And he's like, oh, they should have crystal meth. It should be a power up. And oh, they were excited that the game had sake and all the different, because we saw that, right? All the different sakes.
We did the sake part and the pool part.
And
I like sake and I like pool.
Well, billiards pool, not pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was this is a really interesting article about
curious,
Yakuza playing Yakuza.
Random aside, listeners, do you guys actually know that billiards and pool are different games? And do you know the difference?
And there's also multiple different billiards and multiple different pools.
I think the only people who
and there's also the kind with the bumpers.
I think the only people... We had a bumper pool table
and
when I was
also
a kid.
snooker.
We actually had a bumper pool table.
It's 4 games.
And you could lift it out and put in a billiards table instead. But...
I don't know. Actually, I don't really know how any of the games work.
I think the only
I know there's one where you have to get all the balls in, but you have to get them in order. And there's one where you have to get all the balls in, but it doesn't really... the order doesn't matter as much.
9-ball is one of the get them in the right order. But regardless... I think Donald Duck in Math Magic Land is the primary reason I know about billiards.
And then there's, snooker, which I don't even fucking know.
Snooker is awesome. It's the 10-foot table.
Yeah. Anyway,
so really quick, this is a list someone compiled. He's a prison guard in Wisconsin, medium security, because I'm sure the list is actually probably very different. And he's a board gamer, board game geek. So he observed and tried to make a list of, here are the games that I see played most often by people in prison.
Wait a minute, they let you play board games in prison?
Medium security, so yeah. Apparently,
wait, so what crime do I commit to go to medium security prison?
Oh, shit, yeah. Here's the problem. They don't play Risk that often. You know why? It takes forever to check out and check in all the individual dice.
They have to check out and check in every dice?
Yeah, because you don't want the dice to get in the wrong hands. They might turn into a tiny shiv.
But can't you just check out the whole box and then they just check when you return it that
Apparently it's a pain in the ass.
every single item in the box is in there?
He puts comments on every game. This is well worth perusing. Number 1, dominoes. Makes sense.
But don't you have to check out each and every individual
I don't know.
domino?
I think I can make a shiv out of a domino pretty easily.
Yeah, I could just friggin' make triangle on one
Jenga's
end.
in here. The one that I found funniest was
Jenga, you can make a wicked splintery
scroll
shiv.
down a little bit, and there's like escape from Colditz. Duh.
Really?
And
They have Colditz in Wisconsin
apparently-
prison?
And one that I just noticed, so I looked it up, is called Prison Bitch. It is in the category of fighting, horror, and mature adult.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
All right.
So
Meta
I think we should
moment.
move right on to the meta moment. We can finally announce straight up we're doing three events at PAX Prime this year. over Labor Day
Nobody expects
weekend.
the PAX Prime Geeknights.
Oh my God.
Actually, they should totally expect it because they're
Yes.
there every year.
The one that you're probably most interested in, we are in fact, Scott and I, the hosts of PAX's new late show, PAX Late.
I guess, is that what we're calling it?
It's PAX Late Night is the title of the first
is
one.
it okay if we tell them the name we wanted and we're
I
denied?
think we're working on a story for that because remember we considered making the title the 11th hour because we had to
I was
change
thinking-
the title at the 11th hour.
You know, I haven't told you this yet, but what could we try calling it? PAX Nights?
I'm trying to shy away from the Geeknights branding.
I know, but it's like we had the perfect name and they took it away.
Yeah, well, no, we'll see what happens.
All right,
We're working on it.
We'll see.
I plan to make oblique references to that throughout the entire show.
Okay.
It's too damn late to do that. Anyway, so yes, we're gonna have a musical act. In fact, I just last night confirmed the musical act. It is not one
Should we reveal?
we did not. It's not officially announced yet. I could reveal it. It's set in stone. I'm not gonna.
All right.
We'll announce it later. But the musical act, she is totally cool.
Mm-hmm. You have revealed a fact.
Yes, I have revealed a fact. She, I asked her if she had any questions for me after I gave her all the stuff, right? Like, here's when we're recording,
Yep.
here's the taping, blah, blah, blah. And her question was Kirk or Picard. So she's our kind of people.
All right.
We
Well,
got
not my
Alex
kind of
Albrecht
people.
as one of the guests. We've got 3 of the Rooster Teeth guys. We're finalizing the details on getting
Yeah,
Balls of Steel.
The show is only an hour long. How are we going to fit all these people in?
Well, we're going to have dynamics.
They're going to
groups
be
at a
like 10,
time.
15 minutes each.
That's fine. We'll manage.
All right.
I'm sure we will do stuff with these people around PAX independently of PAX Late Night. It is Friday, 10 p.m. in the Serpent Theater. So if you want to be in the live studio audience and see this thing before we edit it together,
Line up.
and then Saturday air it, stream it out
We're going to
on
have
the
time
internet.
to like prepare before, we're going to be in there at like 9 preparing, right?
Oh my God, we're probably doing some rehearsals and tests.
There's nothing
earlier in the day,
scheduled
too.
right before it, is there?
Don't worry, we got all that
some
covered.
empty space. Okay.
We're also doing our 2 new panels, egregiously unrealized potential,
Which
and
is you probably shouldn't go to because it's right before the end of the PAX, which is going to be down the street in what's the theater that they got?
we'll go down in a mob. Our entire panel will go down there.
All right.
I'm going to make sure we get into the final thing no matter what.
Oh, God, I hope.
And we're doing our hardcore panel, game mechanics and mechanism design.
I got to write that panel this weekend.
Yeah,
I got it outlined.
Yeah, I'm mostly done with egregiously unrealized potential. After testing it at Kineticon, I was reminded of some egregiously unrealized games.
Mm-hmm.
One guy in the audience was like, motherfucking space shooters, TIE Fighter? Someone else was like, what about Metal Marines?
All right.
Yeah.
Any
I don't
other?
think we
What's
need
the
to go
book club
over-
book?
The book club book is Golden Apples of the Sun by Ray Bradbury. I'm done with it. I'm going to lend it to Scott.
Oh,
It's a
yeah, give it to
collection
me before I leave today.
of short stories. You have no excuse not to read it. They're like 3 pages long, each one of these.
Actually, you know what? I want to tell you like, a quick aside here. I'm not gonna ever buy a DRM'd ebook probably as long as I live.
I almost considered buying the new Kindle because it's like $130.
No, but you know what I got?
What'd you get?
You know what I've been doing is when I'm on the subway or sitting around somewhere, I would play games on my iPhone, right?
I read a book.
I had that sword and poker on there, but I beat all the sword and pokers. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, what should I play on my iPhone? And Civ Rev was free, but
Not
I
your
don't know.
DS?
I don't really bring my DS around as much.
Really?
Yeah. I
End
got
of an
like Dragon
era.
Quest 9 on there, but I'm, whatever. But what I've been doing is I actually got Project Gutenberg books and I got them or PDFs and I put them in the iBooks app on the iPhone. So when I'm on the subway, I'm just like, flipping through a book real quick. And this is actually the first time I've been able to read like 2 books simultaneously, like an actual book and a book. I usually can't read 2 books at once.
Simultaneously.
I know you love that simultaneously. So
It keeps coming up.
I'm actually like in 75% of the way through, like Around the World in 80 days.
Huh?
And now, so any Project Gutenberg book,
Actually, not to, because you get to pick the next book club book, but not to push you, but I'm most of the way through The Golden Compass, which I'd never read.
What's the Golden Compass?
You don't know about The Golden Compass?
I know about
His Dark Materials?
I don't know about any Dark Materials.
Atheist Narnia.
Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound so exciting.
It's really exciting.
Okay. I got better books than that.
Really? Like what?
Like
Okay, moving
Let's do
on.
Once and Future King, bitches.
Yeah, I'll read it again.
Yeah.
You know what? There's a hot goose in this one too. I'm not even kidding.
Or we could do Crystal Caves.
We should just anyway. So, New York Anime Festival, Comic-Con, all of those stuff is coming up, but we talk about it every show. We'll let it be PAX Prime Late Show. It is motherfucking us.
It is on.
It's on.
It's on like Donkey Kong.
This is one of our more ambitious projects.
Oh yeah. Okay, so let's talk about expansion packs.
So we're
and not
RIT.
people named expansion packs.
Oh my god, we had all these new friends at RIT a long time ago,
and we start with the complete tangent.
So we met, all these people, no names, and then a few days later, we met some more people that those people had known, and one of those people hung around. But because he came second, we always referred to him as the expansion pack, which shortened later to expansion pack.
You know what? You can thank that guy for the book club in part.
Wow, yeah, you're right.
Because one time, Rim, I wasn't there, but Rim and some other people were hanging out, and that guy was there, and they were talking about books. And this guy wasn't saying much.
He looked kind of sad.
Yeah, and eventually he was just, what did he say? You were there.
Well, one of us was like, hey,
I wasn't there.
We were like, hey, expansion pack, why don't you join in the conversation? Don't be shy. Because we figured, he doesn't know us that well. Maybe he's shy. And he's like, well, I don't have anything to really add to this conversation. We're like, why not? Don't you read? He's like, I don't really read books. And we all stopped.
I don't read.
We're like, what do you mean you don't read books? He's like, I don't read. We're like, anything? He's like, no, not really. We're like, can you read? He's like, yeah, I can read. But you don't? No, I don't read. And yeah, we didn't have anything to say.
Yeah. So don't be that guy. Okay. Expansions of games.
I got the T&E expansion. I'm so excited about this, even though it's
really
because
I don't know how I mean, it could be good, but
here's
really?
why I'm excited. Tigers and Euphrates is a game. It's my favorite board game in the world. Nothing is better than it right now in my eyes for my own personal Rim amusement. But the game is very played out as a crew. We have mostly solved that game. There are a small number of strategies. It probably comes down to luck. We haven't proven it yet because we play that game a lot. We always speculated, well, if we just change the game a little bit, it'll be a whole new game. We don't know what the dynamic would be if we moved this river a little bit or, took out 10 red tiles and then went. So we never bothered doing that because game balance is difficult. So all the expansion here for Tigers and Euphrates is a balanced, a known balanced, a tested modification.
You would hope so, right? I mean, a lot of times expansions come out and they're not actually balance tested. It's like they just took sometimes they're fixes for a broken game, right? Sometimes they're broken, like the river.
Yep.
Sometimes
there's Dominion.
Something that's just thrown together to make more money.
Dominion, they're just printing money.
Sometimes it's something like Carcassonne Cities, where it's not actually an expansion, but a whole new game that has nothing to do with Carcassonne, and they just slap the Carcassonne label on there.
Remember, there was even a Tigers
to
and Euphrates card game.
Yeah. They'll just take the same. Well, it's not really an expansion, right?
Yeah, but it was still called Tigers and Euphrates.
Yeah, but it was at least, but the thing is, like the Settlers card game, the Tigris and Euphrates card game, there's, Coloretto, those are at least mechanically similar to their board game counterparts. They're just, they make a similar game with just cards to make it more portable.
I think the bottom of the expansion barrel is, and we were at some
catapult?
convention. Yeah, I think it was UberCon. I don't even know.
No, it was Kineticon.
Was it Kineticon?
Yeah, 2 Kineticons
So we're standing
ago.
there, and we see Carcassonne expansions. We're like, I wonder if there are any new ones. And I pick up the catapult, and I turn it over, and sure enough, it is a physical catapult, and you lob your meeples at the board.
I don't know exactly the mechanics of this.
But you physically do it.
Yeah.
So I'm holding it, and I look at Scott, and he looks at me, and I'm like, seriously?
The shark was jumped way before that, but that was like, you jump the shark again. It's like, okay, we jumped the shark, and now we're going to jump a beluga whale.
And the guy running the stall looks at us and says, Yeah.
But it's like, dude, you put this in your inventory. You,
And he's
didn't,
like-
you didn't have to order this shit.
It sells. I mean, look at PAX.
Who has bought the...
At PAX, we're like, why do they have 1,000 copies of Ticket to Ride and no copies of Puerto Rico? They sold all those tickets to ride.
They really sold all the tickets to ride?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
All of them.
I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Or I guess they buried them
The thing
somewhere.
is, they should have had a stack of Dominions equally high, but they
Thing
didn't.
is, if they're going to sell Dominions and tickets to rides, no matter what, they're going to sell them all, and they can only bring a set number. Bring the shit to your game.
Eh.
Don't sell your good game if you don't have to. The good game will sell
Thing is,
itself.
you could sell both.
Yeah, but they kind of had them stacked up, filling the whole booth.
I don't know where they got so many. I don't know what the deal is with that. Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, expansions are kind of weird because, like, sometimes, there's no, like, usually when there's something, you can have a set rule. Like, I don't do any expansions, or expansions are good. But really, there is no set rule. Sometimes it's just more of the same, right? It's like, okay, I played this game, and now I need another map, like Battletech, right?
Or like Final Doom.
Yeah. But sometimes, it's like, okay, you're trying to make more money, and you just made some crap. And you put the same name on it in order to make some more money.
Or the full extreme of that is now the micro expansions, aka the Gun Horse.
What's the Gun Horse?
The Penny Arcade comic? When Grand Theft Auto, Grand Theft Horse.
Oh, yeah, the DLCs where it's like, pay money and your character can look different. Or Gunbound, right? I mean,
pay money and your character actually is better.
I mean, what is the difference, like, between an expansion to a game and, say, a booster pack of Magic cards, right? I mean, if you consider the starter pack to be the game, a booster is an expansion, right?
Yeah, or maybe the expansion is not the booster cards, but the booster sets.
Yeah, so Magic the Gathering, like...
I like how you, like that was somehow wise.
Well, I mean, like, Edition X of Magic is a game, or Ice Age is a game, but Fallen Empires is an
Ice Age.
expansion.
Magic died long before Ice Age came out.
I'm just saying, right? That would be the game, and the expansion would be Fallen Empires, or whatever else. Dark would be an expansion.
Yep.
But Unlimited would be the
Which
game.
came first, the Dark or Fallen Empires?
Dark?
Which came first, the Dark or Arabian Nights?
Arabian Nights.
Which came first, Arabian Nights or Antiquities?
Antiquities came after, I think, the Dark.
Wow.
Even.
So you remember the order of the expansions
How
to
do you
Magic?
know I'm right?
Because I know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Arabian Nights was the first expansion to Magic.
All right. Anyway.
Anyway. What's my character's name? In the dwarf game you're the game master for?
Bjorn, something like that? Eorn?
Gormor,
that's it.
Very bronze murdery kind of name.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're right, though. I can't make any blanket statements about expansions because they range from the catapult
to the gun horse to, like, Dominion Intrigue.
I'm trying to come up with the name of a good one because Dominion Intrigue really just, like, the Dominion expansions.
Dominion Seaside was actually really good.
They took a game
it's
that
definitely the best
we had immediately solved and made it unsolvable a little bit longer.
I think Seaside is the one that really made the game better.
Yeah, I don't think after Alchemy and all that, I don't think there's much more.
Well, I might get this Prosperity one because it's basically epic level, and then that's it.
That's got to be it because this is my real beef with expansions right now. And I think it's weird because I think the board game industry in particular is following this path, which is kind of separate from the DLC problem we're seeing in, the fact that people will make a game that is clearly unfinished and will clearly sell DLC that would have just been part of the game had the game come out 5 years earlier. But board games are going this different tack. I feel like any board game that is popular will have expansions no matter what. Modern board games, like Dominion came out. As soon as it succeeded, expansions every fucking 5 minutes. Like, here's another one. Here's another one. They just keep making them. There doesn't seem to be a lot of thought to balance in these expansions.
Well, I mean, and even when there is thought to balance, there's clearly the motivation is more money as opposed to actually making the game better, right? It's like some games need an expansion. Sometimes an expansion is nice, but like Formula Day, right? You're playing Formula Day. Why not get some more maps in there, right? Doesn't hurt. And if you played a lot of Formula Day, you probably want some more maps.
Yep.
That's a totally good expansion. Power Grid, same way. Why not get some more maps and more power plants? Makes total sense, right? But Dominion, it's like you add some cards. Okay. You add some more cards. All right. You add some more cards to do something different. All right. Yeah, we're gonna add just the same exact cards again, only even bigger.
Because you can go down this road where if you expand too much, you've basically made an entirely separate game that has this dumb dependency on owning some other game.
Yep.
Which culminates in the box that includes the game and all the expansions for like $60.
But that's how they roll.
I think the other trouble is
the
that
video games do the same thing. Buy the Game of the Year edition that includes all the DLCs. That's why, but Borderlands, like, it came with a bunch of DLCs. When I
think
bought
there's a big push when making a board game expansion, at least, to add a lot of unnecessary physical bits. Because a lot of the good expansions in the old days, you'd buy it for like $20 and you get home and there's like one little deck of cards and like one token in it.
Well, I mean, look, the Carcassonne expansion, some of them are like just a tiny little box. That's it.
But they're like $2.
Yeah, it's true.
But like, remember all the El Grande expansions back in the day?
The one that added Umerica,
or the Inquisition,
or there was like a Doge. Right?
I remember I played the Inquisition before then because everyone knew the rules. The rules that were very simple. You just made an extra card, stuck it in there. People would use like raisins or pennies to be the Inquisitors.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes an expansion is just really a rules modification, and it's like, why should I pay money for a rules modification?
But that's the thing. You pay to get the physical accoutrement of the rules modification. Like the teeny expansion, the alternate board is there. These 4 buildings, I have these little buildings I can use. I don't have to make them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like, Agricola, get some sheep, get some actual animals instead of cubes. Get some more cards.
But is that really an expansion?
Well, I mean, there's a mod, but they do have that. There is an expansion for Agricola, the farmers of the whatever.
I feel like we need it. I feel like we've already tapped out Agricola. Sadly.
Really? You think so?
I think with the basic...
I could play a lot of Agricola that we have.
I could too, but I think everyone plays the solitaire perfectly in our crew.
Mostly.
I mean, at least...
The thing is that there's still... Even though I know the solitaire perfectly, like sometimes I play, it's like I'm trying to get on the schedule to get the babbies. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. So obviously it's not...
Every time it doesn't happen, I argue it is because other players have stepped up the game and they're playing left-right or I'm where you need to be.
Possibly.
And that's the whole game. The real game of Agricola is really just I'm where you need to be or I left-righted you. And everything else is
sometimes the cards can get you ahead.
Yeah, but then you're playing solitaire. If you have the cards, that'll get you ahead. You play the cards to get yourself ahead. I mean,
sometimes you gotta. Sometimes depending on the cards you get, maybe there'll be a creative way to get ahead you didn't think of, or
no, it's weird because I feel like the game is solved, but because it takes a lot of mental effort to figure out the solution to the new solitaire I get every time we play, I never get bored with Agricola. I can still play it forever. I can still play Puerto Rico a million times, even though I don't know.
Only the plantations change.
I don't know if I'm actually making that many decisions when I play Puerto Rico most of the time anymore.
Yeah. The other thing is that a lot of board game expansions these days are actually just like, they'll be promotional things. Like on Board Game Geek, I've gotten like 4 different Dominion cards for free. Well, for the price of shipping, all right? They're just giving them out promotionally. And it's like, I think that's pretty cool. Imagine if it's just like, hey, look, here's some more metal pieces from Monopoly, so you don't have to be the dog or the boat.
Nintendo does that with Pokemon. Hey, you want a new Pokemon? Come to Toys R Us.
That's true. That's exactly right. Same thing.
Why isn't there a Pokemon board game?
I think there is.
Is there?
Yeah, I know there's Pokemonopoly, but I'm pretty sure there's other Pokemon board games.
I'll have to look. I know there's a Pokemon card game.
There's the Pokemon Clicks game, right? That actually has the really good figures. I don't know if the game is any good, but the figures are really nice. I don't know if that ever took off or kept going or died out or what, but
can you think of any expansions? Because I remember when I was trying to come up with examples of like from the Catapult 2, I couldn't name an expansion that was like mind-blowing to me.
No, I don't think there is an expansion that's mind-blowingly awesome. I mean, I think the best expansions are the ones that just give you more goodness, right? Like
El Grande was a good example. The expansions to El Grande, because the game is still one of the most popular board games ever. Like the fact that it's still in the top 10 of Board Game Geek, despite the fact that no one fucking knows what it is and hardly anyone we ever meet has played it, it's still like an enduring game. But we played it enough to where the basic game, we know what to do. We know what's going on.
I think that the expansions that are really good are the more of the same ones. More like it's a video game, you beat it. Here's another level, right? Like, can you like Half-Life 2 episode, right? Is that an expansion?
They're in Texas. Here's another board, so you have a new board to solve.
Yeah, it's like it's just you like this. Here's more of it with no changes or not many changes. Like Fallout 3, if you like it, that Vegas thing. It's like here you have a whole new city to go explore. If you like that action, there you go. What
I wonder,
what could be better
maybe
than that?
the reason for this is again that if you change and mod too much, you're not making an expansion, you're making a mod. Final Doom was a sequel or an expansion to Doom, but like Bethesda was a mod of Doom. NS is kind of an expansion of Half-Life, but really it's a mod. You're using the pieces of one game to play a totally different game.
Well, I think that's, it's difficult.
Like if I use a T&E board and I make up all these new rules and this totally different game, that's a mod. That's not an expansion of T&E, even if I package it and sell it.
Yeah, it's really a tough distinction to think about what's a mod, what's an expansion, what's a sequel. There's a lot of blurry lines here. Like, is Half-Life 2 Episode 1 a mod or an expansion. Or a sequel, right?
Expansion because I think the line...
But is Counter-Strike a mod, a sequel, or an expansion?
Mod.
Or, what about...
So far, these are easy.
Right? So what makes it a mod as opposed to a completely separate game?
Because all the underlying bits were from another existing game.
So because it's using the same technology as Half-Life, Counter-Strike is a mod.
I think so.
So how about Jedi Knight 2, which uses the Quake 3 engine?
So I was about to say technology one layer above the engine.
Uh-huh.
Because it uses the assets of the game too, not just the engine.
Some of them, but Counter-Strike Source doesn't really. It has complete...
Counter-Strike Source, I would argue, is a sequel to Counter-Strike, itself a mod of Half-Life.
But is Counter-Strike Source a mod of Half-Life 2? It's using the Source engine. How about Left 4 Dead? Is that a mod of Half-Life 2, which is using the Source engine?
Nope.
But Left 4 Dead 2 is a sequel to Left 4 Dead 1.
Yep.
But is it a mod or an expansion?
Yep.
How can, there's a lot of confusion going on there.
But this at least explains, not to get off on a tangent that I was about to go off on, why I couldn't come up with an example of a mind-blowing expansion, because anything that was ever mind-blowing always kind of fit into a separate category as like, this is a totally different game, or this is a crazy house rule. It never was an expansion.
Well, because I think that nothing that's an expansion, or at least is considered an expansion, or even a mod, well, I guess mods can be mind-blowing, but nothing that's merely an expansion can be mind-blowing because not a significant portion of it will be original enough to blow your mind. It's like if Portal had an expansion of new levels, it's like Portal was the mind-blowing thing. What can you add to Portal that will blow my mind? Portal blows the mind.
Two portals.
Yeah, it's like, okay, great, thanks.
Co-op.
Daddy 2PP. What can you...
Simultaneously.
In order to blow someone's mind, it needs to be something that's new and fresh. If it's something that they've seen before or that they're very familiar with, you cannot blow the mind. It's impossible. So nothing... If it is so dissimilar from the thing it is expanding, such as to blow the mind, it would not be an expansion. It would be a new game or a mod or something completely new, all right? Like if I found some way to use a Monopoly board and dice and pieces to make this amazing game, it would be so dissimilar from Monopoly that could you really call it a Monopoly expansion? No, it would be a mod or a new game entirely. So, an expansion is pretty much just like you like something, but you didn't get enough of it.
Well, there's three. I think there's multiple categories. An expansion is good if it gives you more of the same of something you already liked.
Mm-hmm.
If it fixes a problem with something,
but I think it's see when they do that. I mean, it is an expansion, but
it's
I actually
technically
think
a hot fix.
I think it's bullshit that if they sell that as an expansion, the game is broken and you're fixing it with your expansion. No. The fix should be free if your game is fucking broken.
Yep. However, I've noticed a lot of games that not Race for the Galaxies, but Cosmic Encounters included this. There's one card that was controversial, so it was removed in the re-release of the game, but they included it with a note saying, here's the old busted card if you really want to play with it.
Yeah, well, why not?
You know what the card does?
It's one card.
It's the Filch Flare. While it's in your hand, you can just fucking cheat until someone calls you on it. You can just grab extra cards.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like the kind of thing that would normally be in an expansion and not in the normal set.
Yep.
So it's pretty cool that it was in the normal set and not in the expansion.
Or they can fix something that isn't necessarily a bug, but kind of this game was good, but there's a balance thing that if you fix this one thing would have been great. Then I think it's okay to be an expansion because the game still was fun, but you wanted a little better, and someone had a concise way of saying, for $5, Here's better.
Yeah, but here's an example, right? The roll through the ages, which was pretty good, but basically it wasn't really that good. But they made a better score sheet that's free online. But it's like, fuck, I just bought this pad of score sheets.
But it's free.
It is free.
If they charge you $5 to download the PDF,
that would be bullshit.
Would be.
But they don't, which is cool. Yeah.
They probably just wanted to ship the game faster or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And sometimes, people are taking things that would have been a mod or expansion and, or would have been part of the game and splitting it off on purpose. And sometimes they're not. And it's like, you got to just call them as they lie.
Yep. I mean, if something is a Carcassonne catapult, you should point out that it is a Carcassonne catapult and don't actually play it.
Like take, for example, look at Street Fighter 4, right? This tournament mode. It was a downloadable content, but it was free. Right? Because that is something that should have been included in the game. If they tried to charge money for tournament mode, fuck that shit. Fuck them up the ass. Right? But they didn't. But say Madden, they would totally, if it was Madden, they would have charged you for tournament mode. They would have.
Yeah, they would have.
Those jerks. Right? You know how they roll. So, some things should be included, some things shouldn't. And, everyone's just trying to make monies. So fuck them.
But there is, like I said, there's 3. There's one final point where an expansion is very good.
All right.
Inside Your Mom. This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geek Nights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geek Nights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night. It's an RFC, ready? So here's what we do. We forget the XLR input, right? What we do is we take the microphone, right? And on the back of the microphone, there's a vuvuzela. And the vuvuzela goes into...
Why don't we just sell a vuvuzela with an XLR cable sticking out of it?
Well, it has to be on the other end. So
I got it. I'll make a MIDI vuvuzela. I only need to support one note.
Why don't we just have like the megaphone on top of the microphone? We put an inverse megaphone. So you're talking into a megaphone that goes into the microphone.